Welcome to the Lost in History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. A woman walks through the streets of Nagasaki, Japan, in 1945, shortly after the end of the war. The scene shows the city in reconstruction and the beginning of a new phase of hope for its residents. Soldiers behind the shield of a landing craft prepare to reach the shore during the Normandy invasion on June 6, 1944. The ship Titanic leaves port in 1912. The scene shows the massive vessel beginning its maiden voyage under the gaze of hundreds of people on the docks. Built in Belfast and operated by the White Star Line, the ship was considered one of the largest and most advanced works of naval engineering of its time. The Berlin Wall is under construction in 1961. The wall was built to separate the eastern and western sectors, marking the height of Cold War political tensions. Its presence deeply affected the lives of residents who were physically and socially divided for decades. Leaders and officers gather at the headquarters known as Wolf's Lair in 1944. The site was one of the main military command centers during the conflict. The scene shows the tense and strategic atmosphere typical of the period. Wolf's Lair later became historically associated with military decisions of major impact. Afghan fighters in Nangarhar, Afghanistan, in 1988. The scene shows a moment from the conflict that defined the late 1980s in the region. The period was marked by intense struggles and political changes in the country. Kurdish fighters in Iraq during the 1970s. At that time, the Kurdish movement was seeking greater autonomy and political recognition within the country. The fighters included both men and women who lived and operated in the northern regions of Iraq. North Korean leader Kim Jong-il during his time in the Air Force between the 1960s and 1970s. This period marked the beginning of his preparation to assume leadership roles in the country. Vietnamese leader Ho Chi Minh meets North Korean leader Kim Il-sung in Hanoi, North Vietnam, in February of 1957. Both were seeking to strengthen political and economic ties between their countries during a period of national rebuilding and reorganization. Benito Mussolini holds the so-called Sword of Islam, a ceremonial weapon given to him in 1937 when he was proclaimed Protector of Islam. The scene shows the Italian leader receiving the object as a symbol of power and political influence in the North African region. A Dutch child celebrates the end of the Second World War with a cigarette in his hand in April of 1945. Despite the boy's young age, the gesture reflects the spontaneous and relaxed atmosphere of celebration in the streets. A father and son cry as they say goodbye to relatives who are boarding a ship bound for Buenos Aires in search of a better life during a time of economic hardship in Spain in 1957. An anti-war protest is held in the United States in July of 1941. The scene shows demonstrators gathered with signs and banners expressing their opposition to the country entering international conflicts. Queen Elizabeth II, during her experience as a mechanic in wartime in 1945. At the time, still a princess, she enlisted in the Auxiliary Territorial Service of the United Kingdom to support the national war effort. The President of the United States, Lyndon Johnson, listens to a recording sent from Vietnam by Captain Chuck Robb, his son-in-law, in 1968. The moment reveals the personal side of the president in the midst of the political and social pressures of that time. Fidel Castro plays basketball in Cuba around 1960. Basketball, like baseball, was one of the popular sports in the country at that time. These sports moments were part of efforts to promote health and social integration. Jimmy Carter, on the day of his graduation from the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, on June 5, 1946. The moment marks the beginning of Carter's career as a naval officer before he entered political life. A maintenance worker walks along a cable of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco in 1947. The photograph was taken by John Gutman and shows the grandeur of the structure in contrast with the small human figure. Workers ride at high speed down the Broughton log flume near the junction with the Hood River on the border between Washington and Oregon. The scene shows men balancing on wooden planks, using the flow of water in the flume to move logs down to the Columbia River. A German Zeppelin flies over the Empire State Building in New York City in 1936. Airship flights were considered a luxurious and innovative form of air travel. The newly built Empire State Building represented the architectural power and urban growth of the United States. Model and bodybuilding promoter Betty Brosmer, during her modeling career, known for her 18-inch waist. Betty stood out not only for her appearance, but also for her professionalism and her influence on fitness culture. A residential building is moved to make room for the construction of a boulevard in the city of Iași, Romania, in 1987. The structure was shifted entirely on rails in a highly precise engineering operation. A residential building is moved to make room for a new boulevard in Alba Iulia, Romania, in 1987. The operation was carried out to widen an avenue without demolishing the building, which required technical precision and detailed planning. Gertrude Ederlo, the first woman to swim across the English Channel, accomplished the feat on August 26, 1926. She completed the crossing in 14 hours and 31 minutes, breaking the men's record of that time. The first woman cosmonaut, Valentina Tereshkova, presents a badge to American astronaut Neil Armstrong in 1970. The gesture symbolized mutual respect and recognition between the Soviet Union and the United States, despite the political tensions of the era. The character Superman appears in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City on November 21, 1940. It was one of the first public appearances of Superman, shortly after his debut in comic books. Stephen Hawking and his wife Jane are shown on their wedding day in 1965. At that time, Hawking was at the beginning of his academic career and was facing the recent diagnosis of a motor neuron disease. Hans Zimmer stands with a Moog synthesizer in 1981. The use of the synthesizer represented a new era in sound production and in movie and television scores. Zimmer would make this type of instrument one of the foundations of his innovative style, later recognized worldwide. The President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, and the leader of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, meet in an official event in 1977. The scene shows the two leaders greeting each other cordially during a diplomatic visit. Sean Connery in 1963. The scene shows the Scottish actor at the height of his fame, after his success as James Bond in the first films of the series. Connery had earned international recognition for his charisma and elegance on screen. Carrie Fisher's traveling through Europe in 1971. At that time, she was still at the beginning of her artistic career, accompanying her mother, Debbie Reynolds, to events and on trips. Patrick "Two Brick" Swayze with the cast of the film The Outsiders in 1983. The movie was based on the novel by S.E. Hinton and became a landmark of 1980s film culture. The cast included future stars such as Tom Cruise, Rob Lowe, Matt Dillon, and Ralph Macchio. Swedish child actress Inger Nilsson, known for playing Pippi Longstocking, during a visit to Amsterdam in the Netherlands in 1972. The series, based on the books by Astrid Lindgren, was very successful and established Inger as a beloved child star of European television. The assembly line for the Ford Model T in 1926. The mass production system developed by Henry Ford made it possible to build cars more quickly and at prices more accessible to the general public. The Volkswagen Beetle is launched in Wolfsburg, Germany in 1938. The scene shows the official presentation of the car, which was designed to be affordable and practical for the general public. The model stood out for its rounded design, rear engine, and mechanical efficiency. The Hoover Dam, under construction in 1934. The project was part of a national public works program focused on generating power and controlling the waters of the Colorado River. An aerial view of the Hoover Dam, located between the states of Nevada and Arizona in the United States. The image shows the massive structure completed in 1936, a milestone of modern engineering. The largest log cabin in the world, located in Portland, Oregon, in 1938. The structure had been built in 1905 as part of an exposition that celebrated the development of the region. The old telephone tower of Stockholm in Sweden in 1890. The structure connected approximately 5,500 telephone lines, serving as a communications hub for the city. Built of wood and iron, the tower was a symbol of technological progress at the time. One of the oldest known photographs of Red Square in Moscow, dated 1856. The image was captured during a period of modernization in the Russian Empire, when photography was still a recent technique. Watching television for the first time in the Burgundy region of France in 1962. The moment reflects the impact of television arriving in European homes, transforming leisure time and the way people received information. At that time, owning a television set was a sign of modernity and technological curiosity. An outdoor breakfast on the National Mall in Washington, District of Columbia, on July 19, 1974. The scene shows people gathered for picnics and informal get-togethers on the grass, with the Capitol building visible in the background. Children in Halloween. Costumes ride a school bus during the 1980s. Halloween parties were moments of great anticipation, marked by parades, games, and the exchange of candy. Learning to ride a bicycle around 1895. At that time, cycling was becoming popular as a form of leisure, transportation, and personal freedom. Bicycles represented an accessible technological advance and contributed to greater independence in urban mobility. The business class of the airline Lufthansa in 1926. A flight attendant helps a passenger board a Fokker-Grulich FII airplane of the company, then known as Lufthansa. Passengers have dinner in the Art Deco-style dining car of the Mercury train of the New York Central Railroad in 1936. The Mercury was known for its modern design and comfort, representing innovation in American rail travel. Tourists and their guides climb the stones of a pyramid in Egypt around the late 1800s. The pyramids were already attracting travelers from all over the world, fascinated by the grandeur of the ancient structures. Yugoslav President Josip Broz Tito plays with his pet leopard in 1956. The animal had been a gift from Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie during a diplomatic visit. Gilbert Kerr, a member of the Scottish National Antarctic Expedition, plays the bagpipes for a penguin in early March of 1904. The scene shows a rare moment of lightheartedness during a scientific journey in extreme conditions. British soldiers look at the caryatids on the Acropolis during a walk in Athens in October of 1944. The statues, which support part of the Erechtheion, are symbols of the art and classical architecture of ancient Greece. Trendy hairstyles from the 1980s in the Soviet Union are shown in the city of Minsk. Even with cultural and economic restrictions, Soviet youth found ways to express individuality through their appearance. August 1st, 1969, in San Francisco. Women take part in a protest against the mandatory use of bras, demanding freedom of choice and personal expression. A group of young French and German women take part in a posture class at the Trans World Airlines Flight Attendant School in Kansas City, Missouri, in 1961. The scene shows the students receiving guidance on behavior, elegance, and personal presentation. A cabin belonging to a First World War veteran overlooks Nueces Bay in Corpus Christi, Texas, in 1938. The scene shows a simple home built near the water, reflecting the living conditions of many former soldiers at that time. A lipstick tester in the 1950s is hired to evaluate the durability and color of cosmetic products. The scene shows a woman applying different shades of lipstick as part of a quality control process. Marilyn Monroe greets a teenager who came to visit her in her trailer during the filming of the movie The 7-Year Itch in 1955. A portable bridge is being used in the Netherlands in 1926. The structure was designed to make it easier to cross canals and flooded areas, which were common in the region. These devices could be quickly assembled and taken apart, and they were used for both civilian and military purposes. Workers operating high above the streets on the buildings that formed the skyline of New York City in 1925. This period marked the peak of urban growth and skyscraper construction in the city. Young shoeshine boys work on the streets of New York City in the 1890s. Shoeshining was one of the most common jobs among children from low-income families. These youngsters were part of everyday life in big cities during a time of rapid social and economic change. This photo of New York City, taken in 1933, looks as if it came from the future. The huge open space in the ground, located directly along Fifth Avenue, shows the construction site for what would become Rockefeller Center. A mail carrier poses with his heavy load of letters and Christmas packages in Chicago in 1929. The scene shows the worker surrounded by bags and boxes, reflecting the sharp increase in deliveries during the holiday season. A woman protests in front of the White House in 1917. The act was part of the suffrage movement, which fought for women's right to vote in the United States. These demonstrations were peaceful and persistent, drawing the attention of both the public and the government. People gathered in front of an appliance store in Buenos Aires watched the broadcast of the moon landing in 1969. The space achievement marked an unprecedented technological advance and inspired future generations.